50 beat up Ja Rule in Atlanta.
Crazy, man.
Gilly said, hold on, go back to that part.
So how does all this fit into the grand tapestry of hip-hop history? To understand the lasting appeal of the 50 Cent Ja Rule feud, consider its roots in an era when rap battles were integral to the culture's evolution. During the late 1990s and early 2000s, countless artists sparred lyrically, seeking not just chart positions, but also street credibility.
50 beat up Ja Rule in Atlanta like he was there. Rest in peace to Chaz. I know 50 ain't really.
50 Cent and Ja Rule emerged against that backdrop, each with a distinct persona that added tension to their rivalry. 50 was the hardened underdog fresh from real hardship.
I'm just truthful, like real street shit. But tell y'all, cause y'all a street show, that's why I
While Ja Rule was a melodic hitmaker unafraid to blend rap with R&B hooks. When they clashed, it felt like a collision of two philosophies, raw aggression versus crossover appeal. That's what made it so compelling to watch. At times, the feud turned undeniably ugly, with references to alleged violence, possible stabbings, and personal vendettas. Yet fans couldn't look away, partly because the music was undeniably catchy. In the club, Always on Time, 21 Questions, Mesmerize, and partly because the beef itself was a spectacle playing out across magazines, radio interviews, and music videos. G-Unit affiliates like Tony Yayo were always there in the background, contributing to diss tracks, showing up in videos, and making cameos in interviews. Through it all, the question of who had the upper hand was never definitively answered. 50 Cent's commercial success was massive, but Ja Rule had global hits before and even during the feud. Debate raged on. Did 50 Cent effectively end Ja Rule's career? Or was Ja's decline more about label issues and shifts in public taste? Fast forward to today, and these questions still have no universally agreed upon answer.
So look, Ja Rule just come in the elevator, murder!
But Tony Yayo's comedic retelling of an alleged hotel altercation adds fresh layers to that old debate. If it happened as Yayo says, it underscores the narrative of G-Unit's dominance in physical as well as musical clashes. If it didn't happen, or if it's heavily exaggerated, it shows how easily stories get distorted over time, especially when repeated in an environment that loves a good spectacle. Social media thrives on hot takes and sensational tidbits, and a story about 50 Cent snatching Ja Rule's chain in Atlanta is tailor-made for viral circulation. From Ja Rule's perspective, setting the record straight might feel urgent, given how quickly comedic or scandalous stories can overshadow facts. His fiery social media comeback, calling out Yayo's alleged lawsuits and protective orders, reveals a deep frustration at being painted as a punching bag in comedic barbershop tales. Moreover, Ja might see this as a chance to reaffirm that the G-Unit crew had its own set of vulnerabilities and legal entanglements, thus quashing any notion that Murder Incorporated was alone in facing legal woes. In the eyes of an outside observer like Urban Politicians TV,
So look,
He didn't say that. He didn't say murder.
the entire situation is a masterclass in how hip-hop feuds get revived in the era of podcasting. The comedic tone is key. Yayo's narration goes beyond a simple "we fought in a hotel." He layers in personality, accentuates the bruise on Ja's face, references a chain, and even mentions side characters who were supposedly there to maintain peace. The host of Urban Politicians TV notes that in real street life, scuffles and robberies can happen to anyone. They don't necessarily reflect a lack of toughness, but the comedic flair is what turns it into a viral story, not just a random anecdote.
Nigga, fifth KO'd that.
People often question whether dwelling on these feuds helps or hurts hip-hop. On one hand, it's undeniably part of the genre's history. Conflict and competition have powered rap's evolution from the beginning. On the other hand, the comedic rehashing might overshadow new music or overshadow artists' personal growth over the years. Some fans find it thrilling to hear old war stories retold in a modern forum, while others lament that the culture should move beyond these old rivalries. Ultimately, it comes down to personal preference. What's certain is that every time a story like this breaks, it rakes in views, clicks, and comments, proving that there's still a massive audience for 50 Cent Ja Rule lore. A closer look at Tony Yayo's recollections reveals a kind of dual perspective. part historical record, part entertaining performance. He references details like Chaz was there, Black Child was in the mix, or how many affiliates might have shown up. These specifics lend the story a sense of realism. Simultaneously, his repeated comedic timing, drawing out murder or describing the black eye as a cookie, edges it toward a showman's vibe. It might be 70% real, 30% exaggeration, or maybe even the other way around. Regardless, it resonates with an audience that loves both nostalgia and a good laugh. For Ja Rule, that comedic edge can feel disrespectful. He's effectively the butt of a joke retold for new audiences who might not know the full context. Even if he tries to defend himself by labeling it all cap, the comedic retelling often sticks longer in the collective mind.
I'm not a rapper. I never was with this rapper shit.
Especially when it's shared via short, viral clips. Twitter and Instagram's algorithm-driven nature means that once a comedic snippet goes viral, it's tough to push back with lengthy explanations or disclaimers. Memes and sound bites can overshadow nuance, leaving Ja's denials buried in comment sections. As for 50 Cent, he remains a looming figure in this feud, even if he hasn't weighed in directly on Yayo's story just yet. For years, 50's social media presence has been legendary for mockery, savage jabs, and comedic timing that often leaves foes looking foolish. If he decides to endorse Yayo's account, we can expect a flurry of memes, Instagram posts, or short video jabs at Ja Rule's expense. That could elevate the drama even further, ensuring the saga remains top of mind in hip-hop circles. This cyclical pattern, one member of G-Unit says something provocative, Ja Rule reacts with anger, 50 potentially throws in a witty remark. Illustrates how conflicts in the rap game evolve but never fully vanish. The question of why audiences still care so many years later can be answered by one word: nostalgia. Early 2000s hip-hop was a defining era for many fans. Revisiting these feuds is like rewatching an old sports rivalry. It may be settled on paper, but the passion remains. And with each retelling, the narrative picks up fresh angles, comedic elements, and contradictions that keep it lively. One has to wonder if Tony Yayo's comedic approach is a signal that, for him, these conflicts are now more about storytelling than actual aggression. Maybe the real violence of those days no longer weighs as heavily on him, and he sees the opportunity to spin these stories into content for interviews, podcasts, and viral clips. For Ja Rule, however, the sting could still feel fresh, particularly if he perceives it as an attempt to tarnish his legacy. Perhaps he just wants to move on or guard the narrative that he wasn't ever truly bested by G-Unit in a physical altercation. Meanwhile, urban politicians, TV, and similar channels play an important role by framing the conversation. They remind viewers that feuds, fights, and robberies don't define a person's entire career or character. They also highlight the comedic angle as central to why folks are so intrigued. This isn't just old beef rehashed, it's old beef told with a comedic twist. In a sense, this new wave of coverage serves as a bridging point for fans. Older listeners can recall the seriousness of the feud, while younger ones can laugh at the comedic spin without fully grasping the original intensity. Ultimately, the longevity of the 50 Cent Ja Rule feud proves that hip-hop fans love a good story, especially when it involves legends. Whether Tony Yayo's account holds absolute truth or is 90% embellishment, it has reignited chatter about a rivalry many thought had fizzled out. Ja Rule's vigorous response demonstrates that the wounds may not be as healed as some believed, and the comedic spin suggests that at least part of the culture now views these spats with a more lighthearted lens. Will we ever see a definitive end to this saga? It's unlikely. The best fans can hope for is more entertaining anecdotes popping up now and then, each accompanied by pointed rebuttals on social media. Maybe eventually both camps will let the stories rest, but given how easily controversies resurface, don't count on it. This rivalry has become a piece of hip-hop folklore, revived every few years by a podcast interview, a social media post, or a random nostalgic reference. In a way, it's testament to the powerful storytelling tradition in hip-hop. Feuds aren't purely destructive. They can become legends that shape an entire generation's memories of the music and the artists involved. Tony Yayo, with his comedic account, and Ja Rule, with his indignant denials, are both contributing to this living narrative. As fans, we can laugh, debate, or roll our eyes, But we can't deny the entertainment value. And as each new detail emerges, even if cloaked in cap or comedic spin, we're reminded that sometimes the story itself is bigger than the people telling it. This feud hasn't just shaped 50 Cent and Ja Rule's careers. It's a part of hip-hop history, and the ongoing retellings keep that history alive for newcomers and veterans alike. So here we are with Tony Yayo's comedic recollection echoing through podcasts and social media. Ja Rule's fiery clapback fueling the conversation, and an entire fanbase split between dismissing it as more hype or consuming every word like gospel. It's a cycle that's as much a part of rap culture as the music itself. Decades from now, another wave of artists and commentators might revisit the 50 Cent Ja Rule saga, recycling old stories or unveiling new details. And chances are, fans will still tune in, still argue, and still find something compelling in this never-ending rap soap opera.